My name is Skip Bennett, and I don't really have a job title. I own Island Creek Oysters.
My name is Chris Sherman, and I am president of Island Creek Oysters.
My name is Hannah Pearson. I'm the hatchery manager here at Island Creek.
Well, every day is different. I work very closely with Chris Sherman to kind of strategize and plan for the future.
I do a lot of the quote-unquote business stuff. I used to work on the farm full-time, and then I did marketing, and now I run the company, so I do a little bit of everything.
After getting to know the staff, we wanted to know the history of Island Creek Oysters and how it began.
Island Creek started back in the early 90s. Skip can probably tell you more about the actual origins because he was there.
I grew up shellfishing on Duxbury Bay, but I went to college and graduated with a finance degree and was going to work in New York.
Decided he wanted to continue work on Duxbury Bay.
I came back for one last summer, and then I heard about some guys out in Wellfleet that were growing clams, and I was hooked.
And so we bought some seed and gave it a whirl. All the people who thought he was crazy for trying to plant clams thought it was even crazier when he started planting oysters.
You know, it started with just me doing everything, planting, harvesting, growing the seed, and then, you know, it's just matured in the sense that now the farms have a lot of people that are working daily to produce oysters that we sell.
Island Creek's pretty unique because we can control the process from egg all the way to harvest.
Duxbury Bay and Island Creek specifically has become one of the best known oyster growing operations in the world.
Switching to growing oysters, and after years of trial and error, his team began to grow.
Island Creek is an oyster farm primarily, so we grow millions of oysters every year out here in Duxbury Bay.
You know, you might think that at first glance what we do is we buy stuff from one person and sell it to another. But we don't. What we do is we broker relationships.
And then see our product at a restaurant is really exciting.
We have about 600 chefs across the country that we sell to.
It seems like a pretty simple concept, but it's pretty rare in the seafood business to go totally end to end from the grower direct to the end consumer, whether that's a chef or an individual.
Off of that, there's a farm which includes hatchery, a nursery, where we can produce seed and sell seed and produce all our own seed. And there's 3 farms, so there's Island Creek Farms, the Aunt Dottie Farms over at Saquesh, and then we have a small farm up in Little Bay in New Hampshire.
The other things we do is we started a brand, you know, we've got a bit of a following, and so we've used that to do a whole bunch of things that we really have no business doing, like being partners in a restaurant group, and also running a nonprofit foundation that does international development work with aquaculture.
So the nonprofit evolved from a little oyster festival that we did behind the Windsor House.
And that party quickly grew to close to 4,000 people out on Duxbury Beach, with 40 chefs coming in from all over the country. We got a lot of ticket sales from that festival, and we decided we would not keep it for ourselves and we would give it away. And that was really the birth of the foundation, was the funding. Oysters and aquaculture had provided us a great way to make a living here in our hometown of Duxbury, Mass. Why couldn't we use that to help communities that probably need it even more than we do here?
We fund a fish farm in Haiti for them to grow tilapia, and then also a clam hatchery in Zanzibar. So I'll be traveling to Zanzibar to help train the staff there and help them figure out best ways to grow the clams, as well as jump any of those hurdles or challenges that we experience in our own hatchery.
The foundation creates jobs for farmers and also creates really high quality and cost-effective protein in places that really need that oomph in their nutritional profile.
Even it extends out to ornamental fish, so people grow fish for fish tanks. And basically that's what aquaculture is. It's farming in the water.
Knowing the importance of aquaculture and how oysters contribute to the overall health of the ocean, ICO told us their way of giving back to the industry.
We contribute to aquaculture through obviously just being participants in this kind of relatively new industry. We also do a lot of policy work at both the state and federal level, creating opportunities for other aquaculturists and for our industry and other aquaculture industries to grow. And then through the foundation, we do a lot of advocacy as well.
Aquaculture, in the sense of hatcheries and farms, are now bringing back a lot of natural populations, which is great for our waters.
We have a growing human population here on the planet. Every day right now, 1 billion people are undernourished.
It's not necessarily because we don't grow enough food to feed everybody and to feed everybody well. It's more access to food. And one of the problems in the access to food is that we grow grains in the United States, and I think we feed about 60% of the grains to animals for food at a horrible conversion rate. In some cases, it's 100 pounds of grain for a pound of beef.
We're also facing increased pressure on wild fisheries.
In many of the waters around here, specifically the natural oyster populations are starting to not exist anymore. So with aquaculture, we're able to bring back those populations. There are a lot of hatcheries that don't necessarily work commercially, but they do a lot of research and restoration.
And those are two problems that we really need to solve, and they're two problems that we believe that aquaculture can be instrumental in solving. So we're hoping that aquaculture becomes an even more important part of food systems as we proceed into the future.
Since aquaculture helps solve problems within the population and the growth of ocean life, moving forward in this direction will greatly benefit humans in the future.
The future of aquaculture is complex, but we see obviously shellfish as a growing part of that equation.
It will continue to be an important part of the food that we eat. 90% of the seafood that we eat is imported.
Shellfish are kind of the win-win of aquaculture because they're both good for the environment where they're grown, they're good for the people who eat them, it's high quality protein, and it's profitable, so they're good for the small farmers that grow a lot of that product.
There's a finite amount of protein that we can take out of the ocean, and it doesn't really matter where you take that protein out of the water. It affects the whole overall kind of biomass out there. So, sometimes we hear the term biomass when people are talking about harvesting.
Specifically at Island Creek, we want to create a huge hatchery, somewhere where we're able to actually grow all of our seed, not only for our farm, but for all of these farms in Duxbury, maybe even someday all of the farms in whole Cape Cod Bay, which includes Kingston and Plymouth.
We're also looking to finfish. The largest producing finfish species right now is salmon and trout, and those species got a bad rap for themselves earlier in the 20th century as they started to grow as an industry, and they've done a lot to solve a lot of the environmental and animal health problems that they've encountered. We're looking for continued innovation out of the finfish sector.
As aquaculture is expanding everywhere, more and more hatcheries are popping up everywhere. There's going to be a lot more access to oyster seed or clam seed, whatever it may be, which will then create more jobs for people as more farmers can start farms and again bring back those populations that are depleting.
They have to figure out a way how to feed their fish without putting smaller fish into their feed. So right now, one of the biggest spots for innovation in aquaculture is in feed technology. So they're working on growing feed out of algae or using insect culture to get that protein element and omega-3s into the food that they're feeding to these bigger fish.
With ICO supporting the concept of sustainable marine life protein sources, we wanted to know if they think they are contributing on a global scale.
I would definitely say so. Oysters are really good filter feeders. They can clean up a lot of water. There are a lot of projects in the world that they're starting to put oysters in dirty waters to specifically clean them up.
Certainly the growth of Island Creek is evidence for some of the changes that we're seeing, not only here locally in Massachusetts, but all around the world. So we try to do our small part.
The most impactful thing we do, especially with the nonprofit piece and the giving back, is hopefully we inspire people to take a look around and see what they can do, because I think ultimately that's the most impactful way that we can, change some of the problems that we're trying to address.
The best way to get involved, everyone around here is lucky because we have a burgeoning and growing aquaculture industry. Duxbury is now the largest producing embayment in Massachusetts as far as shellfish is concerned, and Plymouth and Kingston have rapidly growing industries as well.
There's just a lot of potential. It's a great industry to be in. There's a lot of universities now that have shellfish aquaculture programs or finfish aquaculture programs.
Call your local farmer and ask to help out. We're always looking for help. We have some internships here at Island Creek that we offer. There's some limited opportunities to get involved with the foundation, and as you get older, there's ways to go work at the restaurant in the city and things like that. So there's a lot of ways to get involved. either directly with the production or at other points in the supply chain.
So I guess my advice to people would be, go for it. If that's what pulls at your heartstrings, do it.
How do we contribute to aquaculture? Well, we are entirely an aquaculture operation, right? So we are growing oysters, which is in all aquaculture is growing seafood in a farming setting. But I guess the community of aquaculture, we're pretty much on the forefront of growing techniques and hatchery technology and stuff like that. So we're always researching and testing stuff out, and I think that definitely is a big addition to the aquaculture community as a whole. Yeah.